Salutations everybody, it is Matty here today. Pokemon's fine. It's fine. It's the same thing year in, year out, new part of the Pokemon world, roughly the same gameplay mechanics, and the same could be said for a while for Assassin's Creed. Year in, year out, you get a new open world focusing on a different part of history, and on top of that, a couple of gameplay tweaks here and there. And what happens is these entries and these annualized franchises experiment so little that small parts of their respective communities get represented with these small changes. So by this I mean that Sword and Shield is great for competitive players, but when it comes to Sun and Moon, I really like that game because I play Pokemon in a single player fashion. I enjoyed some of the endgame content there. Maybe it's not the best out of the entire series, but I liked it. I liked the changes to island trials. There was a lot there that felt different, so it was refreshing and reinvigorated my love for the franchise. What I'm here to say is less so that Pokemon's average now. In fact, I said many months ago how I thought that this new introduction to Pokemon Sword and Shield did not look all that exciting and looked like a 3DS port, to which a lot of people actually blasted me over, but now everyone under the sun is calling it that. I don't think the game is necessarily awful, it's just really stuck in stasis, and I think that issue is emphasized based off a lot of what happened prior to launch, but also other IP from Nintendo, which took gigantic leaps forward while remaining accessible. Pokemon is just there. And for a lot of people, it works. I have plenty of friends who love Pokemon Sword and Shield, but for me, as someone who critiques games, plays games year in, year out, this was one that was super easy to put down after 10 hours. And really what I think needs to happen is just that Pokemon, as such a large, grossing IP, needs to get the Assassin's Creed treatment. You see, Assassin's Creed was in a similar rut. Each entry felt like it was just losing quality, it was tailoring to specific parts of the community, and for most it was, this is fine, this is good, this is more Pokemon. Same with Assassin's Creed, more Assassin's Creed, good with me, I like what's there, it's simple, it's fine. But then they stopped, they took a little bit of time off from the franchise, put it into rest, worked on something innovative, and they came out with Assassin's Creed Origins. Now, I thought that Assassin's Creed Origins was alright, but you could see the ambition was there, and it set a new framework in for the franchise to lead to what I personally think is absolutely one of the best entries in the entire Assassin's Creed franchise, Assassin's Creed Odyssey, a true role-playing game that had really fun combat, a great world, great characters, and a lot of that excitement, that enjoyment from that title, and a lot of the innovation that came from that was because there was a breather on that series. And especially when you look at Pokemon, which generates tons and tons and tons of revenue every single year outside of their respective video games. I think if any series could actually take the time off to improve without having the overall brand get hurt, it would be Pokemon. You see, as I played along with Pokemon Sword and Shield, so much jumped off the screen to me as rushed product, stuff that we really haven't seen in prior Pokemon games. And this doesn't even involve the cut Pokemon or the reused animations. It has nothing to do with that, quite honestly. It's blatant tech errors like frame drops in the wild area, or for example, horrid pop-in on these one-road towns. I mean, they present them as these huge sprawling cities that you can explore, but each of these towns is just based on one road that goes from east to west. And even new introductions like Dynomax feel uninspired because it leads to these Dynomax raid battles, which do decrease the amount of grinding you have to do thanks to the XP candies you get. But at the same time, this Dynomax feature just makes Pokemon bigger, offers roughly a same move palette with the same elemental weakness targeting that Pokemon's always been known for, and that's really it. And I just can't believe that even after like the Mega Evolutions, that it's kind of come to something like this, where it doesn't feel that game-changing. And in fact, this new Dynomax feature slows down the battles overall, because instead of just trading blows back and forth like you normally do in a Pokemon battle, you select your attack, it goes through, and then you have to wait for 3 other people to go before you can go again. And most times these battles I've experienced so far are kind of like cakewalks. So it just feels like a glorified Pokemon battle, and overall a flat idea that wasn't either executed properly or had much inspiration behind it. And I think it was a mixture of both. I also feel like the sound took a hit. I mean, listen to this track. Look, I know I'm gonna sound like a Sun and Moon fanboy in this video, but that game had one of the most underrated soundtracks of all time. Like between the Aether Foundation, Team Skull music, some of the towns at night, I mean, that game had such a diverse range of music It was so beautiful. And I don't know how you go from composing that work of art of a soundtrack to this. It's like they handed you a box and a fork and said, here, blow on this, slam this, make a song. Underlying stories in Pokemon are one of the most powerful parts of the series, in my opinion. It started all the way back with the first Pokemon when we entered Lavender Town and we had that moment of like, oh crap, these aren't just cute pets that fight for you and that you bond with them. They actually die. And it was a really sad realization when you learn more about Cubone's backstory. It's a heartbreaker. And I think for a lot of us, myself included, that was kind of the start of the believing in the world of Pokemon. And it's such a rich world that should be explored more in deeper, slightly darker ways. I'm not saying everyone has to get their head cut off. I'm not asking for tons of death and darkness throughout the universe. But it feels like in their path to being accessible, they've dropped some of the stuff that can equally appeal to adults like the rest of these IP. People can run around Mario Odyssey or Zelda, jump around, be idiots, whatever they want to do, but underneath it all, some of the conversations you can have, some of the moments that are present in the game are so impactful. Like the time you're playing as Link, and if you go to jump off a bridge, someone will run up to you and try to stop you. And for a kid, they'll probably be like, whatever, but for us, that can touch a little bit deeper and go like, oh my God, like this guy thought he was trying to save my life when I wasn't gonna do anything crazy like that. Even when you look at some of the manga, there's a bit of darkness there. And I know sometimes the manga can be darker than anime or games, what have you, but point being is that Pokemon has a degree of darkness and strong storytelling tied to it. And I think that's why a lot of people sort of conflate the argument of it's for kids. It's like, well, yeah, there is a target audience for kids, but there are a lot of adult themes within Pokemon and so many other shows, movies, games that have nothing to do with Pokemon that can tailor to both audiences. I mean, even the Galar region, it gets interesting for a second when you start learning about the darkest day and how someone donned a sword and shield and was fighting mythical creatures. It gives it almost like a medieval fantasy feel, and I thought that was unique to Pokemon, but it's so much in the background as you go through your typical Rise as the Pokemon champion battle that quite honestly, I was just like, why do I care? Why should I even bother sticking through with this? And that brings me to my ultimate point. Pokemon is tired. It needs a little bit of a break, okay? Just like Assassin's Creed did. It needs that level of treatment. It's a valuable IP that people will be ready and willing to support. And I can promise Nintendo or anyone watching this that you take a break, people will explode out the gate the second Pokemon comes back. One extra year to give the developers time. It's clear that Game Freak does not A, have the staff amounts, and B, the time to make a true Pokemon game. And this series needs to be reworked with a new framework moving forward to help push it forward and establish something for future entries. And that's all I got, folks. Pokemon's fine. I'm not finishing it, but I know there are a lot of people who do like it. I understand it, I respect it, because I like certain annualized franchises like the Warriors games. I love Warriors games. They're just mindless beat 'em ups and they're really satisfying to play. So I enjoy them, and I get why people, for example, would enjoy Pokemon. It's just kind of quick battles in and out. You're in a nice world, you're familiar with it. There's a little bit of comfort in that purchase, and I totally understand that. I just think to move it to a new level, it just needs a year off. And with how active Pokemon is as a brand, I don't think it would damage it considering it's relevant in anime, manga, mobile devices. It's everywhere, man. So I feel like it wouldn't really hurt the brand too much. I'd love to hear from you folks. Am I alone on this? Does Pokemon not need the Assassin's Creed treatment? Maybe I'm just being a little stingy, a little hard on them. Let me know. Other than that, follow me on Twitter, follow me on Instagram. Those links are in the description down below. Big thank you to the patrons for making these videos possible. I appreciate each and every single one of you. I want to give all of you a hug, a kiss, all right. And other than that, do consider supporting my Patreon. It is linked in the description down below, and it fuels all the content I create here. Stay sexy, stay active. I love you all. Peace.